If a person in a position of authority ordered you to severely hurt a stranger, would you do it? Your immediate instinct is likely to say no. You probably assume you would stand your ground and refuse. But decades of clinical data suggest for the vast majority of us, that instinct is incorrect. This gap between who we think we are and how we actually behave under pressure reveals a difficult truth about the nature of the human conscience. In the early 1960s, society struggled to comprehend a massive psychological crisis following World War II. Millions of ordinary citizens had participated in mass atrocities. The common theory of the time was that these acts required inherently monstrous individuals, but psychologist Stanley Milgram suspected that ordinary people possessed a universal vulnerability to authority, a force that could override their character. To test this, he designed a systematic experiment to measure the exact breaking point of the human conscience. The laboratory setup defined three roles: the teacher, the isolated learner, and the experimenter. The teacher asked questions and, for every mistake, delivered an increasingly powerful electric shock. During the initial phase, shocks range from 15 to 75 volts. The teacher complies without hesitation. When the consequences appear harmless, the line between routine helpfulness and blind obedience is entirely invisible. The psychological friction begins at 150 volts. The learner screams, begs for release, and complains of heart trouble. When the teacher hesitates, the experimenter offers no physical coercion. They simply deliver a calm, scripted directive. The experiment requires that you go on. At 300 volts, the escalation turns terrifying. The learner violently pounds on the wall and then goes completely silent. The participants experienced extreme physical distress. They sweat, they trembled, and they vocally protested the orders, even as they continued to deliver the shocks. 65% of ordinary participants proceeded all the way to the maximum 450-volt shock, despite the silence from the other room. These were perfectly normal people who found themselves crushed by the psychological gravity of perceived authority. That 65% completion rate shocked the global psychological community. It led to the situational view, the finding that external environmental pressures possess the power to override deeply held internal morals. Studies like the Stanford Prison Experiment and the Asch conformity tests validated this vulnerability across different contexts. Science now recognizes that extreme obedience is a potential response for any human being when placed under enough pressure from an authority figure. This vulnerability appears in everyday life, from toxic corporate workplaces to the silent acceptance of harmful social norms. Authority figures and environmental cues exert a massive, often invisible pressure on our behavior, often shaping our choices more than our internal values do. Recognizing this pressure is the only way to retain control over your own actions. Whenever you feel an inexplicable pressure to comply, pause and ask if you are acting on your own conscience, or if you are simply following the orders of the person in the lab coat.